few months ago, I was looking for the monitor for myself that I wanted to buy. I wanted to buy an ultra-wide monitor, and I started looking for it. My main goal was for it to be a large monitor. It should be at least 1440p, and it should be at least 60 Hz or more. So I stumbled upon the reviews by Linus, by Hardware Canucks, and by, I don't know, by Random from P, I think. The only reviews for this monitor, which is the Massdrop Vast, and they were praising it for its price, for its performance, and everything in between. I ordered it, I got this monitor a few months later, and the reviews just stopped. I was looking all over for the reviews for this monitor, and a few months later I still cannot find any of them. There were only few unboxings and few first impressions, so I decided to make the review myself. So here it is, my review of Massdrop Vast. Okay, let's start with what this monitor is. This is the 35-inch VA panel 3440 by 1440 resolution monitor with 100 Hz refresh rate and 2 millisecond response time with freezing and everything else. Well, basically this is a really good monitor for really good price. So I got it for $550 US dollars, in case you didn't know, from Massdrop, and I ordered it I think in October and got it in January. I had to wait 2 months for it to ship because actually they were ordering it to manufacture in China, I think, and they manufactured it and they delivered it to me. So how this monitor is built, what is it built from? This monitor is built from brushed aluminum, as you can see here and on the base, which looks pretty premium, but it looks kind of squeaky. I don't know if you can hear it. It looks a bit squeaky and it's a bit wobbly, but from the monitor of this size, I think it's acceptable. Unless you are, I don't know, dancing on your table, you will not feel any wobble at all, especially with this stand. Well, let's talk about stand then. If some people are praising it, some people are not praising it. Well, in my opinion, it's a really good stand. It looks nice. One downside to this is that it's quite big. If you do not have a big table, it will be too big for you and you need to get a other stand for yourself. Thankfully, the monitor is supposed to support VESA mounting, so you can get any other third-party mounts that you want. As you can see on my table, it takes quite a lot of space and even goes to my huge mouse pad. But for me, it's still not a big of an issue because my table is quite large for me, so it's not big of a problem. So as for the stand, as you can see, the monitor is pretty big, but it has a quite adjustability as well. It can tilt, rotate, and swivel as well. As you can see, there is a tilt here. There is a rotation, which I will not do because it can rotate up to 90 degrees. Okay, let's stop there. And it has a height adjustment as well. You cannot adjust the tilt from side like this, but yeah, for me it's not big of a problem because it's still a huge curved monitor and I need to be in the middle of it. I don't want to stand like from the side, otherwise I would rotate the monitor itself or just mount it on a wall. So overall build quality is pretty nice for the price, especially, which is $550 that I paid. Now it costs more, but we'll get to it later. So for me, it's getting an 8+. Okay, let's get to the performance then. It's really high resolution monitor. It's 1340 by 1440 resolution, which is pretty big, and it's just shy of a 4K. It's still less than 4K, but it's far larger than 1080p. So if your video card can barely run 1080p, or actually run 1080p around 60 Hz, this monitor is not for you, because this monitor needs pretty beefy video card. In comparison, I was running a 144 Hz 1080p display before this. It was running pretty well. Majority of the games were running on ultra settings on at least 100 Hz for 100 FPS, or sometimes in 144 FPS. For example, the competitive games like CSGO, I could play in 144 Hz 1080p without any problem. I have GTX 980, by the way. Yeah, I don't know if I said that. This video card actually is able to run this monitor, but not on its fullest extent. Running the games in ultra-wide quad HD resolution on 100 Hz is pretty difficult for my video card, but I think for the beefier video cards like the 1080s and 1080 Ti's, it will be easier. So if you have the beefier video cards, by no means buy this monitor. If you don't have it, well, it's bad for you because you cannot run the games on fullest on this monitor unless you will crank it down. For example, I crank down my games to high settings and most of them run easily on 100 Hz. I mostly play Warframe on this game, on this monitor, and it looks superb. 100 Hz, 1440p, amazing. Let's go to the I/O then. Okay, on I/O we have the 4 ports, which 3 are HDMI ports, 2 of them are HDMI 1.4 ports, one of them is HDMI 2.0 port, and one display port. So why do you need the display? Why do you need an HDMI 1.4 port, you will ask? Mainly for the game consoles. If you're connecting the game consoles, they will not benefit from the HDMI 2.0 port or from display port, so you will need them for consoles or something like really low resolution, running 1080p max or something like this. And I'm running this from display port. I think it's 1.4. I don't know exactly which display port it is. It comes with display port cable, so yeah, it's pretty nice. Next thing I wanted to say that this monitor looks really sleek because it has no branding at all anywhere. The only thing that you can see is this power LED light. That is all you can see from the monitor. If you want the really clean build, clean aesthetic, this monitor is for you, unlike the other monitors in its or even higher price range. For the clean setups, this monitor is great. As you can see, I have the table with silver, gray, and black accents. For my monitor, for my setup, it looks pretty nice. There are some reds and greens, but yeah, don't mention it. It's just me. The panel itself. Panel is the VA panel. Despite what the advertisers said about, and advertiser in Massdrop said that this is as good as IPS panels. Well, no, do not believe him. This is not as good as IPS panel. It's far better than TN panel. It's really good for VA panel, but it's not as good as IPS or maybe an even OLED panel. The blacks are really good, but not amazingly good. The color reproduction is pretty nice if you will calibrate it with the Tom's hardware calibration. I'll link it in the description down below. This is what I run now. Plus, it is right now it's running flux, so the colors are a little bit reddish. Let me just turn it off so you could see. Disable until sunrise. As you can see, the colors are really good. If you turn off flux, I'm running flux all the time because I'm spending a lot of time on computer, and iTrain is pretty huge deal for me. So the colors that you saw before that was not actually representative of the colors of the monitor. Well, how good it is as a color reproduction and for the content creators? Well, to be fair, if you are the casual content creator, if you're doing a content creation like for fun, like I'm doing, sometimes, not every time, then this monitor is fine for you. Just fine. You will not need anything better than this one if you are doing only it for fun and not for professional use. If you are using monitor for professional use, by all means buy the better monitor, buy the IPS panel, buy the OLED panel, because the color reproduction on these monitors, I think, are far better than in here. This monitor is good enough for gaming. This monitor is good enough for everyday, day-to-day use, but not for really color sensitive work. If you're working a lot of Photoshop in Premiere or other color sensitive works, then don't buy this monitor. Buy the monitors that are a little bit expensive, just a little bit. I will get to it why a little bit expensive in a bit, and you will get just better colors. So yeah. Okay, let's talk about gaming now. Gaming is really important for this monitor because it's branded and marketed as a gaming monitor. Well, it's amazing for gaming. Ultra wide ratio is just perfect for almost every type of game, especially the first-person shooters, because you are getting this better and wider angle of view, and you can see more around yourself, making you a bit better in gaming. But take note that not all of games are supporting ultra-wide. Well, you can see the ultra-wide on your monitor, but you are not actually seeing ultra-wide. Sometimes the games are just cropping the top and bottom of the game, so it will give you impression that you are seeing more around yourself. I think the PUBG is doing that, because if you play PUBG on this monitor and any other ultra-wide monitor, you will see that you can see this less of your person. Like you can see it just, I think, around the shoulders, and while playing a normal monitor or widescreen monitor, you can see more of your person, I think, above the hips. and you can see less on the top as well, even though it's not distorting anything on the sides. On other games, I think some first-person shooters is just distorting the sides, making it like really elongated, and there's a bit making it looking kind of weird. So it depends on game. Like for example, I like playing the strategy games on here because I can see more of the map, I can see more of the things. It's really taxing for my GPU, but it's really good for gaming. But what is really good for is multitasking. You can just run a lot of windows on this thing without any distortion and without any problems. I'm running sometimes a 3 window mode with the separations between them. Sometimes I run 2 window mode, like one big window and one small, and I can run even a 4 window modes, and really a lot of different window modes. The software that I'm using for the multitasking window is the Windog. There is no the proprietary software for this monitor, unfortunately, like LG's monitor does or Dell's monitor, so I'm using Windog. The Display Fusion I think is far better than Windog, but Display Fusion is pricey, expensive, and Windog is free. I'll link the Windog download link down below, and I will link as well the file that I'm using for the settings, because the Windog have really basic settings that you need to add for yourself, like for example where you want your window to be and how you want to minimize and maximize your windows. Basically, if you want this, if you want for me to make a multitasking tutorial, and I think I will do it regardless of you want or not. Yeah, it sounded kind of weird. I will do it regardless. Just stay tuned for the multitasking on Ultrawide video. It will be out pretty soon, I think right out after this video, I think in a few days. So for multitasking, it is amazing. Like workflows here are done really well. If you are heavy multitasking, if you're working on the monitor a lot, on your computer a lot, just buy this one, because you will get a lot of stuff really well done, basically. Okay, this monitor supports FreeSync as well, which is an adaptive sync technology, which syncs for basically your GPU frequency with the monitor frequency, making it look smoother, and it has the range of from 49 to 100 Hertz. To be fair, I'm not using it at all because I don't have an AMD GPU, I have an NVIDIA GPU, and on my NVIDIA GPU I'm not noticing a lot of tearing. I think there is some tearing, but I'm not noticing it at all, because for the games, the high refresh games that I'm using a little bit lower graphics, and it practically almost runs at 100 Hertz. So for me, I think it's not a big of a problem. If you have an AMD GPU, the beefier AMD GPU like Vega 64, then it will be really beneficial for you. But for me, well, not so much. Okay, now everything is good, this monitor is good, everything is great about this monitor. Now let's talk about the issues. First issue, the menu. The menu is awful. You cannot understand most of the stuff. It's not intuitive at all. I don't know, there's so much stuff there that could be useful, that is useful, but it's organized in so bad way, in such a bad way that you will not just want to use the menu at all. The issue was addressed like 3 or 4 months ago, before even it was a production unit by the Linus and Hardware Canucks and the by everyone who ever used this, by every review. So they were right, it was not fixed, it's still here, the menu is awful. Just believe me, try to not get to menu more than once, just make one calibration and forget about it. Just never go there, never at all. Oh yeah, and this monitor has a aiming reticle as well, as you can see in the middle, if you're playing the shooter games without an aiming reticle for some reason. The other issue that I noticed is, and that many people are noticing, that the bottom bezel is heating up a lot. Well, it's actually true. My bottom bezel is heating as well. It's not the uncomfortable heating. For right now, it's a bit warm. But because I'm running it at the lower brightness, not the max brightness, if you crank up to max brightness, it's getting really hot. Not the burn hot, but pretty uncomfortable hot. So I think this issue should be addressed. My advice will be to crank down the brightness unless you're working in really bright environment. For example, I'm not working in bright environment. My room is pretty dark. I have only one window here, which does not hit the monitor directly. So for me, it's not big of an issue. But if you are cranking up your brightness really high, just don't, because it's getting uncomfortably hot. Even though the monitor has warranty, I'm just not advising you to crank the brightness on max, because actually you don't need it. You don't need the brightness that max. The monitor is pretty bright even without it. Just good enough, unless you like really bright monitors. But if you like really bright monitors, you would buy something like IPS and OLED panel, not the VA panel. Okay, this is just my opinion. The next thing that is really bothering me is, well, if you order this monitor, you have to wait quite a bit. Like for example, when I ordered it I ordered it in September, the end of September I think, and I got this monitor by the end of January. I had to wait October, November, December, and just 4 months to get this monitor. It's quite a lot for ordering the monitor for $550, and right now it is $600. But there is one thing with this price range. There are some other monitors that are really close to the price, like the LG monitors. I think it's UC80 something. Okay, I will show it on the screen right now, which is an IPS panel, unlike this one, unlike the VA panel, and which is really good for the color sensitive work. If you are making a color sensitive work, I strongly suggest buying the LG monitor. There is also a Dell monitor, which is an IPS monitor as well, and which is really good as well. There is, I think, there's a Viotech monitor, which costs less than this one, around $550. I think it costs now $530. Unlike this monitor, it's a bit cheaper, as I've heard of, on the quality side, and plus it does not have an adjustable stand as well. So basically, you are paying premium $50, around $50 for the stand. Well, it actually is worth it, if you ask me. But one thing that is not worth it is probably a 4-month waiting, because if you order it right now, today is now 21st of February. I think the drop is running until 28th of February, if I'm not wrong. But then it will run for around a week, I think. And you will get it by June, by the end of June. So we have to wait pretty long to get this monitor. Basically, they are ordering it, batch ordering it in China, I think, assembling it and then giving it to the customers. I think there is a leftover 150 monitors from the previous batch, from this batch basically, that they will give a 150 lucky backers, I think. Backers? I guess you should call it backers. Lucky backers for few weeks earlier. But I still don't understand this, because the Massdrop got a really good indication of how many monitors people want. They could just assemble more and then sell it earlier, because I understand that they wanted to sell it for the first batch, and they didn't know how many monitors would sell, and like wait for 4 months and like make actual drop campaign a few months earlier. I understand why they did it with my monitor and with me in particular, but I don't understand why they're doing it again, and probably they will do it in the future as well. Probably another drop will be by the end of summer, and the people will get the monitor by the end of year, which I still don't understand. And well, maybe it's just me, so maybe it's fine for you. Okay, well, overall, is this monitor worth it? Absolutely. This monitor is an amazing monitor. If you want a new monitor, as cheap as possible, as good as possible, with this combination of these two, then this monitor is best value for you. It's not the cheapest ultrawide, it's not the best ultrawide, but it's the best combination of these two. Well, this was it for now. My name is Nixon, and if you want more videos like this one, just leave a like, comment what you think about this monitor. If you ordered this monitor, how was your experience with it, what you want to change, except the menu, of course, because everyone wants to change a menu. So leave a comments down below, leave a like if you like this one, and subscribe for the more videos like this. If you want in the future, I will probably make it anyways because it's fun. Thank you and take care. Bye.